Hey everyone. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is the first chapter in a long time that has actively pissed me the fuck off. I'm not even joking on that because, like, the chapter itself, it starts off simple enough with a four-way conversation between Kizaru, Vegapunk, Kuma, and Saint Saturn. Saint Saturn, and basically the whole context of the conversation is is that Jay Garcia basically agrees in order to cure Bonnie only if Kuma becomes a mindless war machine in order to be abused and used by the government. And like and the really and the really like and the part that really frustrated me reading this chapter, the part that really pissed me off more than anything else, is just how ultimately how the government was basically taking advantage of Kuma during Kuma's weaknesses. Like Kuma himself, this more than anything, this chapter proves Kuma was the kindest, the most gentle, the most absolutely caring individual on this fucking planet. Like it's been proven throughout this entire flashback, and so to just see him so willingly give up everything he has, his life, his humanity, his freedom, for the sake of a single life, Bonnie, his daughter. The fact that he made all those sacrifices for her, just wanting to save her life. That's all he wanted to do, and yet, despite knowing and doing all that, despite knowing he was being manipulated, he was being used by the government. It's one of those things that just really I Kuma ultimately he made the ultimate sacrifice. He was the one who always made the ultimate sacrifices for everyone else except himself. And that is like that I know it's probably like a type it's been overused a lot, but that just makes him the most realist motherfucker on the planet. He only ever does shit for others, never for himself. And it's just, I know, I'm just seeing him being just, it's one of those, this is one of those chapters, honestly, that where I've like many others, we're always expected to hate the government in this series. We are. But this is the first time I think I've actually had to say, fuck all of y'all. Fuck you, Jay Garcia. Fuck the government. Fuck the Celestial Dragons. Fuck all of you. That is like that is legitimately what's going through my mind right now as I'm like recording this. Like the government can just go. This is like the ultimate point for me, whereas like the government can go fuck itself all the way to fucking hell with a rusty ass shiv. That's what I'm saying right now. Like, god damn it. And I'll like one thing even more that I liked about this chapter, I'll say this as well, is I love how in some ways, at least for me personally, I kind of feel for Vegapunk in this chapter more than I have before. Like Vegapunk was the first one to stand up and say, are you fucking out of your mind, Jay Garcia? You're asking him to give up everything. You're asking him to give up his life, his humanity, everything. Are you fucking out of? You're only doing this because you can't control the seven worlds, these seven motherfuckers. So what the fuck are you? So quit it with that bullshit. It's like, yeah, that's the first. Like I love how Vegapunk was kind of the first one in this whole conversation to say just fuck the government, and I kind of really appreciate that. I kind of appreciate how Vegapunk was just the first one to say fuck all of you, but he still ultimately went along for it because Kuma, he still ultimately went along with it, but only because Kuma himself willingly made that sacrifice. Like it was his way of weirdly like respecting Kuma's wishes, and I'm like, oh my god, oh man. Yeah, like I said, this chapter, it really got me heated. Like I'm not even gonna lie. Like this is the realest, rawest reaction you're seeing from me, and I'm like, oh, just it's so good. Like it's so frustrating, so bad, but the circumstances of what happened to Kuma are so frustrating and so bad, but it's narratively, it's so good too. Like Kuma was just the realest motherfucker you'll ever want to meet, and I one thing I do like though is how is leading up to the point where Bonnie would eventually go in for surgery. Though we still do get scenes of like montages of scenes of Kuma and Bonnie like from spending their from last days, their last moments together, and yeah, it is legitimately heartfelt, and I'm not gonna lie, I do. I think the only thing I'm maybe a little bit iffy on in this chapter is maybe that I would have liked to is that the circumstances by which Bonnie and Kizaru know each other is a little bit too like weird in my opinion. Is a little weird in my opinion, but is like one of those things where because of what we know, because of what we know would eventually happen to Kuma, I do see now through that lens of like, yeah, there, even though it's all happy-go-lucky between them, there is that because we know what happens to Kuma, there is that underlying thing of like, yeah, she's pretty much just being dragged along for this damn ride, even if Kuma is still attempting to genuinely give her like as many moments as she can with him together, for as long as she can, and for as long as he can, and yeah, it's like Kuma was just a real father for Money. He was her father, and I'm like I said, it's heartbreaking because it makes you realize this was all just everything we see with Bonnie and Kuma in this chapter. It's like it's their last moments together. After that, we all pretty much know what happened, and I think in some ways too, a lot of this not just for the sake of Bonnie, but I think a lot of this also gives a lot even more weight to what happened on the archipelago when the Straw Hat when Kuma separated the Straw Hats. He said, "I will never see them again." It's like, yeah, I think it gives a new perspective in the sense where I think underneath all that, Kuma did genuinely probably want to spend more time with the Straw Hats and to get to know Luffy more, because because he had such respect for Dragon, but ultimately, like, yeah, he said this is the one and only time we'll ever see each other, kind of thing. It's kind of interesting in that regard. And yeah, like, I've already said all my fuck yous to Jay Garcia, so it's like, what more can I actually say about the bastard? Like, motherfucker is like I have a hard like don't get me wrong, I'm sure all of them are evil pieces of shit to some degree, but at this point, like Jay Garcia is the most evil piece of human garbage among the good Ose. Like among the four of them, yeah, he is the most evil one. Like I'm sure the others are like just don't get me wrong, the others I'm sure are just as evil in their own, or just as inhumane in their own way, just as detached from humans as possible, but from being human as possible. But Jay Garcia is like, no, fuck you, dude. Like, just fuck you. But okay. But outside of that, I do also like how we get a lot. Within the montage, we also see like the rest of the world reacting to Kuma becoming a warlord, and especially the Seven Worlds as well. And actually, one thing that But one thing that also kind of popped up interesting to me in this chapter is we see in the very first page of the chapter, we actually see Drake as a member of the Marines, or I guess as a member of like Kizaru's contingent. I don't know, but it's like, yeah. So it's interesting to see Drake there, considering what he had considering there was a passing comment he had said back on Saboti Archipelago, where he talked about, so I guess the Pacifista project is completed now, and yeah, so this actually gives perspective on like how much he knew, which is a lot. He was pretty much there when the project began, so it's like, yeah, it didn't. So it is kind of interesting. It didn't really take. It wasn't really all that probably. There wasn't probably that much of a time gap between when the project started and when it was basically officially completed, I guess you could say. So in that respect, it's like, yeah, like he definitely knew more than I think what he let on at the time. But yeah, like, and but okay. Even outside of that, we also see, I believe, the end of the chapter basically has it to where I think Kuma. I think that's Kuma, or is it Dragon? I think that's Kuma heading to. I think that's. I think that's. I think that's Kuma at the end heading to Fuchsia Village, or is that or is that Dragon? I don't know which. It didn't make it entirely. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, never mind. Yeah, yeah. It is like they basically say Kuma is heading. They gave orders to Kuma to head to head to East Blue, and from the looks of it, headed to Fuchsia Village. So it's like, what's gonna happen there? Like, because from my understanding, Kuma wasn't a part of. Like, I know Kuma was basically there when Fuchsia Kuma was there when Fuchsia Village basically. I'm curious to see how this part's gonna play out because I'm aware Kuma was there at Fuchsia Village when I I believe Kuma was no Kuma wasn't there. So it's like I wonder what. Sorry, I know I'm getting a little wordless here right now. I'm trying to find my words for this. They basically gave Kuma orders to go to to go to East Blue, and again, from the looks of it, it's headed to Fuchsia Village. So like, that might be to head to Fuchsia Village. So like, what's the purpose? Why are they sending Kuma to the East Blue to begin with? Like, are they trying to say that like that Kuma had maybe an indirect encounter with Luffy at some point? Like, I'm curious to see where this is gonna go if he's headed for East Blue, because. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this sort of like I don't know. I guess you call it a review, but more of a rant. Like, just holy hell, fuck the government. Just what can I say after this? Fuck the government. But yeah, guys, that's. But tell me what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Dark Knight of Anime signing off. Fuck the government. Fuck Jay Garcia. Fuck all y'all. I'm out.